Hello, everyone. This is Mohammad Akif with Akif CPA. I'm a Texas CPA, also a chartered accountant in Ontario. And then today I'm here to discuss a common question that I get from Canadians who have moved to US or are living in the US, that can they file a tax return with their spouse in the US? So the answer is there are many different scenarios that we need to go through. So let's say if you are filing a 1040 NR, which is a non-resident return. On a non-resident, the spouse cannot be added on. Your spouse is only added on a full year return. The next question is that what if the spouse doesn't have a U.S. Social Security number or ITN number? If the spouse has moved with you, let's say for example on TA visa, they are not eligible to get a Social Security number. You can apply for their ITN number with your tax return if they moved with you. There's a different process, but the ITIN can be applied. They can be added to your return. The only thing is that once you do file a U.S. full return, of course, if you're filing with your spouse assets, Canadian assets, and your Canadian assets will need to be reported on that U.S. full year U.S. tax return. So that means if the spouse has earned income on the Canadian side, that needs to be reported as well, along with your income on the US on the Canadian side, that needs to be reported on the shoot. So on the spouse can be claimed, and the spouse can file with you. The only way they can do that is filing a full year US return, not a 1040 NR. 1040 does not allow spouse to be on the return. It has to be a fully return. Secondly, if you can, and then if it makes sense, I would go with the spouse being on the return and filing a joint return, because the U.S. tax rates are different for married filing jointly uh, versus married filing separately. So married filing separately are considered as single for U.S. tax purposes. So the rates are going to be higher, versus the married filing jointly brackets are also bigger in comparison to married filing separately brackets, which is also the same bracket as single. So if in cases where we can, we should file jointly, even if there's no ITN, we should apply for that ITN, and then get a better tax rate, a bigger tax bracket, and then lower taxes on your US income. So that's in the scenario when you are filing a full year return, that's the scenario that will be adding the spouse on the return. If you're filing a non-resident return on the US side, you cannot add your spouse to the return. So that really depends on each situation. When did you move to US? How, if the spouse moved, the spouse is still back home. So it really depends on each person's scenario. There's no one right answer. In some cases, it makes sense. In some cases, it does not make sense, even if they're eligible to file together, because sometimes the spouses are earning in a or bigger amounts, or they have more assets to report. So maybe a tax planning in that year will be a better idea. But again, it's specific to everybody's situation. There's no one answer, but the answer depends upon the forms that you're using. Let's say if you were using 1040 NR, no. Regular 1040, yes. On the other side, if you do have assets, if you have income, that needs to be looked further on. Does it make sense to add them to tax return? Anything, shoot us in questions through our info at Akif CPA, or at our phone number is down there in the description. You can reach out to us in our Toronto office or the Houston office. Thank you very much.